All right, what's up guys? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. We've got some great topics for you, but before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's go ahead and first start off with the PlayStation conference or the PlayStation showcase. There were a few games that I thought were pretty good and I wanted to discuss those just briefly. If you want to check out my full list of what I liked and didn't like, or at least like what I thought about the show, my reaction, it's up on the channel. All you have to do is go to the live section on the homepage and you will see it right there. But there were two games that really stood out to me because there were two games that I thought looked hype that actually had gameplay, and that was God of War Ragnarok and also the game called Project Eve, which I'm dubbing, also shout out to my man Party Man, Bayonetta instead of Bayonetta. Let's start off with Project Eve, Bayonetta, and then we'll get into God of War Ragnarok. So this game looks really cool. It's made by a developer named Shift Up, and it has a lot of similarities when it comes to the character design, the outfit, the enemies, the action. A lot of it kind of looks like Bayonetta stuff, and also like the hair involvement. So I thought the trailer was pretty cool, and I think the game doesn't quite look as fluid as Bayonetta. I'll be completely honest. I'm just looking at it. It doesn't look as fluid. It doesn't quite look as it's going to be as fun based off the gameplay that they did show. But the graphics are nice, and it looks like it's going to have a very clean aesthetic to it and be a cool action game to play. But yeah, it looks good. We'll see how it actually plays. The game is coming out. I don't think they had a release date, which was very unfortunate. But yeah, it looks like it might be maybe next year based off the gameplay. Looks like things are coming along nicely for that one. Next up is God of War Ragnarok. I thought that game looked fantastic, although it didn't blow me away like, oh my gosh, look at these graphics, like PS5 only. So I think you can kind of tell it's a cross-gen game just by looking at it, but that's not to slight the game's graphics. I think the game, to look the way that it looks and to be able to run in 60 frames per second, probably on PlayStation 5 performance mode, is really impressive. And I'm almost positive that they tried their best in terms of what they had to do for PS4 and also what they have to do for PS5. So the game looks great. Love to see Kratos back again. I wasn't the biggest fan of the God of War reboot on the PlayStation 4, but it still looks like it's going to be a very good action game, and I'm looking forward to getting it on my PlayStation 5. So those two games are pretty cool. There was stuff like Wolverine, and there was also Spider-Man, but those are all CG. Not really talking about CG stuff too much. I mean, if it's good, then cool, we'll talk about it once they actually have some gameplay ready to go. But yeah, the CG stuff for me kind of missed me on that. But overall, I thought it was a solid conference for like the hardcore PlayStation fans. You know that there's going to be years of games that they're going to be talking about. You don't know we're going to get all those games, but they're still there, at least announced. So pretty cool stuff there. I'll give the show overall a 7 out of 10. Thought it was a good show. C for me. Wish there was a little bit more release dates and gameplay, but hey, it is what it is. For other people, it might have been better. But yeah, that was my show grade for that. Now, next up, we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch and what went down in Japan, because there was a huge milestone that was just crossed. According to Famitsu, the Nintendo Switch has crossed 21 million units. It's actually the first system to do this since the Nintendo 3DS. That is a pretty impressive sales milestone, because if you think about it, look at all the other systems that have came out in between then. There's been a number of systems, high profile stuff that you thought maybe could hit that goal. Heck, even stuff like the Wii, for example, right? Now that came out before the 10-year mark, but even you thought that the Wii, with the momentum that it had in the US and in Europe, that could cross up the 20 million mark, or at least hit somewhere near there. But no, that didn't get close. PlayStation 3, Vita, I mean, there's so many systems that fell short of that. The last home console to do it, I think that was the PlayStation 2 quite some time ago. So it's been a while since we've seen anything even considered a home console hit these type of numbers in Japan. So I think it kind of shows the shift on what's going on in Japan and how they're moving over to the mobile games and also to the hybrid of the Nintendo Switch platform. We're seeing some of the sales out of Japan, and you know, not to be Debbie Downer or anything like that, and this is not to hate or anything, but PlayStation 5 software sales are absolutely atrocious. I've seen some stuff online with Resident Evil already being marked down to crazy low prices, and that being the best selling PlayStation 5 game in Japan. So it does seem like things are a little bit off there, but hey, it is what it is. We'll see what happens with it at the end of the day. I think overall that a lot of these systems are focusing on the West, but Nintendo has somehow been able to capture the West and also capture the Japanese market as well with that 21 million units plus. So that's very impressive. It's cool to see that the Nintendo Switch is kind of plugging along, and honestly, I can't wait to see what Nintendo does next. We have the Nintendo Switch OLED, we have Metroid Dread, we have Shin Megami Tensei 5, we have Splatoon 3, we have The Legend of Zelda 2022. I mean, we have a lot of stuff coming up. There's still Mario plus Rabbids, there's still Pokemon Legends Arceus. I mean, there's a ton of games, but I think that this is like the last big wave. And then the next gen will probably start kind of getting the hints and the rumors and all of that. I think 2022 will start hearing about something when it comes down to it. So I'm excited to see Nintendo kind of transition into the next system. And I think it's sick because all these cool games are coming out. And I'm almost positive that Nintendo is going to take the same style with what they're doing with the Nintendo Switch and just make it a lot better. So it's going to have that backwards compatibility. So people will be able to play those games if you missed it on the Nintendo Switch for whatever reason. So good stuff there. But overall, 21 million, huge milestone for the Nintendo Switch, and things don't seem to be slowing down because there are some big games coming out this fall. Also, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, that's going to be huge in Japan with the Nintendo Switch OLED. Man, things are going to start popping off this holiday for Nintendo. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how high that 21 million is extended once some of these bigger hitters start coming out in the holiday season or so. So what are your thoughts when it comes to what happened with the Nintendo Switch in Japan and the huge milestone that we haven't seen in quite some time? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, guys, we are going to discuss some realistic expectations for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because I've had a number of people talk to me about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. What do I think about it? What do they need to do? What's going on with the game? I mean, heck, it's starting to get to the point to where on my live streams, we have daily discussions on how, no, it's too slow here, or this game was too this here. Xenoblade fans can't agree on anything for the most part, but I do think that the time for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is upon us, and I wanted to go over a few things that I discussed in my bigger video that I did. Make sure you guys check that out, my Xenoblade Chronicles 3 becomes a major franchise video. Some people were upset in terms of what I had to say, or not really upset, but disagreed about what I stated with the combat in the game and changed it to more of an action-based game in terms of how you do the combat, contextual button presses and all that. I think that people thought that I thought they need to completely change everything that Xenoblade is about. And no, that's actually not the case at all. I do not want to change everything that Xenoblade's about. I actually just want to make it to where more people get into the franchise. Like, as great as Xenoblade is, I do think that there is a little bit of a cap for Xenoblade games currently the way that they are. I just personally feel that Monolith Soft is so good at their job, and they do such a great job with their games that they can make any type of game when it comes to an RPG, and you guys will love it. Or most people that are already diehard or hardcore Monolith Soft fans will love it. They can make an action RPG, they can make a turn-based RPG, they can make pretty much anything. So if they made a few tweaks to how the combat works in the Xenoblade franchise, I still feel all of the core Xenoblade fans that love the combat will still like it, because Monolith Soft is a master at their craft. They know exactly what they're doing. They take their time to make sure that they adjust different things. Now, not everybody always loves everything when it comes to the Monolith Soft or Xenoblade fandom, but at the end of the day, you're still going to buy the game. You're still going to play it for 100 hours plus or whatever the case is. So the game will be copped no matter what, and there will probably be many other things that you love about the game, even if you don't like one change or two. I mean, look at what everyone says about Xenoblade Chronicles 1 to X to 2. There's all sorts of different opinions, but people play them for hours. What I'm trying to say is that in order to get more people in, is making that little tweak and actually showing it through the gameplay to where we get more people to buy it, because I want Xenoblade to turn into a huge 5 million plus seller. I want to see Xenoblade get that recognition and that support that some of the other bigger franchises get. I mean, how wild would it be if Xenoblade ended up selling like the next Xenoblade Chronicles 3, right? This is just realistic expectation. If they really made some changes and did some stuff with the combat, how wild will it be if we hear that Xenoblade Chronicles sells like 3 million units plus, or it sells like 4 or 5 million units? I think it can do that. I think that there is enough of a Switch fan base with who loves RPGs and who wants to play games that can do that. They just need to make a few tweaks here and there, and that's why I said it was a realistic expectations based off of what some of the rumors are saying. This is going to be Nintendo's biggest, or at least Monolith Soft's biggest Xenoblade game. They're really pushing for the graphics and certain stuff like that. I mean, that might come with a few other changes because they've done the same somewhat style of combat now for multiple games. Xenoblade 1, actually 4 games. Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade X, Xenoblade 2, and Torn of the Golden Country have all had that auto-attacking with the arts and the skills and stuff with various different changes in between. This might be a great time for a not clean break, but a little bit of a break in terms of what they're doing and introduce some new elements so it's not like the previous 4 games, to get more people in, and of course all of you guys will still pick it up anyway. So that's essentially what I was going with realistic expectations and it becoming a major franchise. Is just changing a few things here or there, not completely upending the tea table, you know, and changing the game into Tales of Arise or changing it into Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts. That's not what I want. All I want is for the game to make enough changes to get millions of more players in, because I feel that Xenoblade is right there. I think that it's right there. So we can expect fantastic graphics, way better graphics than what we saw in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and X. We can expect, realistically, expect some tweaks to the combat to kind of change things up and make this a Switch-specific game. Make this game the defining experience of Monolith Soft on the Nintendo Switch, just like Xenoblade Chronicles X was the defining RPG experience for Monolith Soft on that system. I think that there are some things that they're going to do to tweak things up, to change it up, and it's going to get those extra people in. So those are like my realistic expectations for this, because I've heard so much, man, when it comes down to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I feel it's going to happen. Man, I feel by the time that some of you guys even watch this video, maybe there's something announced. So I feel it's going to happen. I feel Monolith Soft has been hard at work on this. And I think this is going to be the combination of Monolith Soft busting their butt in the lab, in the works, doing everything, kind of getting it done and showing what the Switch can do when it comes down to an open world RPG, when you really fine tune and know the hardware and you make a game for it, you know? So I think that's what's going to happen here. And I'm really excited to see what they have for us going forward. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Make sure you hit the like button if you forgot to do so. Also, subscribe if you're someone new, and check out the link in the description to become a channel member. It gets you all sorts of cool perks, benefits, rewards, Discord access, and it also supports the channel too. So I appreciate everybody who's already signed up. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.